Hey mama, welcome to the One Income Family podcast. Do you have too many categories or maybe not enough categories for your budget? How many times, have you sat down to even budget and you feel like you have absolutely no money because you have so many categories? $10 here, $20 there, and you've achieved nothing. That, my friend, is exactly what we are going over today. How to decide what categories you need, if you have the right amount, and how to pair them with your accounts so that you can achieve your goals and stick to your budget. So go cuddle up with a nice warm drink, get comfy with them babies, and open your heart to God as we head into today's episode. Do you find it hard to save or get out of debt? Are you constantly searching for ways to save money and live on a budget? Do you have big dreams only to be stopped by not sticking to your budget? Are you ready for financial freedom? Then you, mama, are in the right place. Welcome to the One Income Family podcast, where you will learn what it looks like to budget on one income, how to partner with God in your finances, how to budget in a way that's easy to stick to, and how to cut costs and save money, all so that you can start building wealth. It is my mission to equip you with these tools so that you can live in abundance regardless of the amount in your account. Hey, I'm Molly, a budget coach for stay-at-home moms, and I know what it's like to struggle on one income. I've lived paycheck to paycheck, relied on being frugal, and failed many budgets until I learned how to budget without tracking. This has allowed my family to pay off debt and build wealth all on one income. So, if you are ready for financial freedom, then go grab that stroller, plug in those headphones, and let's get to it. I just want to start this off by saying thank you so much for tuning in with me every single week. It lights me up to know that you're enjoying the show. But before we jump into today's episode, I do want to reach out and ask you to leave a quick written review for the podcast. Share with me how the podcast is impacting you and what you enjoy about it. It keeps me excited knowing that you are enjoying the show, which is what helps me to bring you new and fresh content each and every week. And I love knowing that I'm helping you master your finances for a better life and a joyful family, right? Because that's the ultimate goal. All you have to do to leave a review is scroll to the bottom of the show and click write a review. It's in purple, you can't miss it. Rate it and write your review. So hit pause, take 30 seconds to leave a wonderful review that not only lifts me up, but helps to get the podcast out to other mamas who are searching for the same things. I look forward to reading your review, and you never know, I might just end up reading it on the show. Oh my goodness. So I remember when my husband first got a little bit more income than what our basic needs were, right? And I was just like, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff that I want to do. I can put money here. I can put money there. I've got this goal and that goal. And when I actually started putting money towards those goals or trying to budget for it, I'm like, wow, I can't actually achieve anything. And I did try it. I tried budgeting like that for a few months, and I'm just going, this is not working. Like, it's just not going together. These categories were categories that I loved. They were things that I wanted to do. But then I realized after looking at it and really like digging deep that it wasn't necessarily the categories, because I didn't have categories. I had goals. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but I had so many goals that it was hard to achieve anything, right? So what I had to do was I had to actually lump them into categories so it felt like I was actually achieving something. So before I just confuse you and continue to go down that story, let's jump into today's episode. And the first thing I want to talk about is just how to identify your categories. And before we really dive into that, I want to define what a budget category even is. And in essence, like short and simple, sweet and to the point, a budget category is simply a group of similar expenses. So like when you think of your housing costs, you've got your mortgage or maybe your rent, then you have like savings for whatever could happen, right? And then you have maybe an HOA, or if your house is paid off, you might have your land taxes in there. There's lots of things related to the house that's in that housing category. But like what I was telling you about my story, I had single goals, and a budget category is not a single thing. It is a lump sum of things together. Now, to figure out that amount, you might have to, figure out how much you need for each one of those things. If it's like your housing, because those have to be paid, those are bills that have to be covered, right? But if it's like a savings category, then maybe it's harder to be able to achieve every single thing that could come out of that saving category, that savings bucket. And you have to be graceful of what that is, right? You may not be able to put every single amount that you'd like to be able to cover all of those categories, but at least you have some money going towards that total category instead of every single goal, so that you're actually slowly achieving something and you can pay for whatever it is that's coming out. Let's say it's like a beauty fund, and you buy, and I don't know why I went to beauty because I don't have a beauty fund, but a beauty fund that you could think of could be like makeup. It could be like skin products. It could be like hair care, getting your hair cut. I don't know. You think of what else could go in there. But maybe right now, all you can afford to put in your beauty account is maybe, I don't know, $20 a month, which may not feel like a lot, but that could be enough for what you need right now. And then slowly you're able to add it up. I don't know. That's a really bad category for me to explain because I don't do like that kind of stuff. I'm not a makeup girl. I probably would be, but I can't because I have eczema and it makes my face break out. But, anyways, I'm not really a beauty kind of girl because I live on the country. And so I don't really care what I look like. I just go out and get dirty anyways. And so yeah, I'm giving you like this long story. I just need to stop and move to the next thing. So, but that's what a category is. That's what a budget category is a group of similar expenses, not your single goals. And it's so much easier to save up for the category than it is the single expenses, because when you focus on the single expenses, it feels like you're not actually achieving anything. And that's not what we want you to feel. We don't want you to give up on your goals because it doesn't feel like you're actually reaching them, right? So how do you come up with these categories? The first and simplest thing to do is to do a 90-day review. So print off 3, maybe 6 months of statements, 3 for sure, but depending on how further back you want to go, you could do 6 months of statements. Maybe you want to do a whole year so you can see what yearly categories you have that come up too, right? Like Christmas. That's not going to be an every single month thing. That's going to be a yearly category. So depending on how deep you want to get into it, you could do 3 months, you could do 6 months, you could do 12 months, however much time you have, but just sit down and highlight similar expenses. So take a pink highlighter and highlight all of your beauty stuff. Take a yellow highlighter and highlight all of your housing costs, things that go together, and you can name them whatever you want. Maybe your food and your family stuff go together, kind of like mine does. So you could just do a family account, right? Everything that covers your family. So just go through and figure out what works for you. What are you spending your money on? Don't create categories based off of what other people say they need to be. Figure out what's best for you, what's going to work for you, based off of the things that you enjoy, based off of the things that you are currently spending, based off of the things that you want to do, the goals you want to achieve. Create categories based off of that, and you're going to create a budget that you actually want to stick to, that actually brings you joy, and you're like excited to follow through on because it's stuff that you want, not stuff that somebody's telling you that you need to have, right? So then, how do you pair these categories with a digital cash envelope system? So of course I have to combine these two, right? Because what I teach is a digital cash envelope system, which is focused on accounts. And some of these accounts are the categories that I'm talking about. And so it can make it simple to be able to stick to that budget because your account is a specific category. But you need to know how to pair like your overall categories into your specific accounts. And the way you pair your categories with your accounts is by lumping similar categories together based on how you are going to be using them. So this allows you to have less cards if that's a concern for you, but it also makes it easier for spending purposes. You know what card you need to use, what card you're going to end up using the most, and you know which one to pull out when you're going out and making a purchase on something, right? It makes life so much easier because you're like, okay, this is the gas card. I'm going to go buy gas. This is the family card, which for me is food, family activities, going out to eat, like that kind of stuff. And so it just makes it so much more simpler to understand what I'm doing to like have a whole bunch of categories in it. Now, I don't say a whole bunch because if you have too many categories, it can become confusing, and then you have to start tracking it diligently, which if that's something you want to do, have at it. I suggest having 8 to 10 accounts, and I know that's kind of a lot of accounts, but that's what I use. I use 10 accounts. I actually have a few more because of other things, but my everyday monthly accounts that I'm constantly transferring income to is a total of 10 accounts. And at the minimum, at the very, very bare minimum, you should at least have 2 spending accounts, 1 bill account, 1 saving account, 1 checking account attached to that saving account so that that money doesn't get into like your spending account and then you go and spend it, right? You want to keep it in your savings categories. And an emergency fund. Now, that is less than 8 to 10 accounts, but if that's where you want to start so that you can get your hands on and understand what you're doing, totally start there. However, this is also where you're going to have to track more because, like I said, the more categories in an account, the more tracking you're going to have to do to be diligent to make sure that you don't go over your budget, right? On the flip side, though, the more accounts you have, the less tracking you have, and the more boundaries you have in place so you don't have to worry about spending money that you don't want to be spending, right? So if you're concerned about multiple accounts, start with a minimum of 6. I think that's how many I explained to you. But then start adding them when you see a problem. For instance, my husband and I, we first started out with each having our own spending account. We had our bills account, we had his spending account, we had my spending account. And inside of each of those accounts, we put the things that we would spend our money on, right? So for instance, he would take care of things like the car. He would take care of like outside things for maybe gas for the lawnmower and for the tractor and for everything that needed to be taken care of outside. Now I'm doing more outside, so we kind of split that. But my point is that was the things that he would remember, like car maintenance and that kind of stuff. So that's what we would put in his account. And in my account, we'd also put personal spending, right? So we'd put personal spending, we'd put gas on my account, we'd put food because I'd go and get the groceries. We'd put family activities on my account because that's where my focus was going. We'd put school stuff, that kind of stuff that I would be spending on. But I could never find a system that I enjoyed to be able to track it. I'm like, yeah, I can find these apps online where I can do like a cash envelope kind of system, but cash envelope system and budgets inside of them, there was so much going on and I was just struggling to keep up with it. And my husband, who likes to spend money, would end up spending his money that was supposed to be used for other things. And so when he actually needed like gas, he had used it all on eating out because that is his vice. He likes to eat out. So From there, I'm like, okay, I'm going to split it up more. So here I'm going to go into the pairings of what I do for my accounts. And I split it up and I took gas out of both of our accounts and put it into one simple account because he was struggling with sticking to that money. I was struggling with keeping it separate out of everything else. I was like, oh, I've got money in there. No, I just haven't been spending my gas. So how about we just put all of our money for gas into one account? That way, if he needs more gas or if I need more gas, it just makes it simple. And I'm not like, oh, yeah, let me transfer some money out of my account into yours so that you can have gas. Like, I'm like, no, we're going to make it this simple and we're going to put gas in one account. We then also separated out the family spending. So what that is for us is food for both animals, personal. It's also eating out. It's also family activities. So if there's something coming up like why can't I think of what it's called? A pumpkin patch or something for Christmas or something even like now for Easter, I would be taking care of that out of the family checking account. And from there, then we each have our own personal spending accounts that our money goes into that we can spend on whatever we want. Now, if you don't want a personal spending account, you want to just keep maybe the gas checking and the family checking, and then maybe take cash out for your personal spending, have at it if that works for you. It doesn't really work for me because the way I like to use my personal spending is for online purchases, which is really odd for me to say because I don't really like to buy things online. However, I am finding that right now that is how I'm using that income. So I need a card attached to it so that I can purchase those things online, right? But if it works out for you just to pull cash out, then have at it. Do whatever works for you. Create whatever boundaries you want. Make less accounts if that's something that you think you're going to struggle with. I did at first. When I first started getting into this multiple account system, the way that I was taught, I was just like, this is not working. I don't know how to track all this. I don't know how to figure this out and know when I'm spending what and how I'm not going to spend it. And there was just too much in each account. Now that I have it split up the way that I do, I don't have to worry about that tracking. I know what I have. I have my systems in place. For instance, in my family account, the first thing that I do is I go and buy groceries. And then whatever is left over, groceries for me and the animals, I should say that too. Get the important things, the necessities bought and taken care of. And then whatever is remaining, whatever's left over, I get to spend on family activities. I get to spend on going out to eat and having a date night with my husband if that's something that we want to do. But that also means that I have to be diligent and focus on being frugal if I want to challenge myself to have more instead of the actual budgeted amount, right? I have been slacking there a little bit, I'll be honest, but I can still challenge myself if I have the capacity, I should say, in my daily life. Like if there's a lot going on, like right now there is a lot going on in my life. I've got chickens on the porch ready to be moved out to a chicken coop that is not completed yet. So that is the focus of mine. I have my garden that I'm trying to get planted, which I'm like a month late on getting things planted. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope this doesn't affect my summer garden so that I can have my spring garden, right? But what I'm saying is because I have these systems in place, maybe I don't have the time right now to try to work on being frugal with my purchases, but I at least have a system set up so that I am saving money. I'm able to stick to my budget. And right now, because our life is so busy, we're not gonna be going out to eat. So that's not something I have to worry about, right? I can just go and get groceries, get home, and focus on the things that we have going on in life instead of trying to be frugal every single time. Now, I know I kind of went on a tangent there, but I really want you to understand how great the system is. If I have the time and I have the mental capacity to be frugal, then I have it set up. If not, then I can just go spend my normal amount and not have to worry about it affecting something else, right? That is the great thing about this system. Okay, so we have our gas account, we have our family checking, we have our personal spendings. Each one of us have our personal spending accounts. From there, we have our giving account, which is that account we do tithing, donations. Anytime we see a need, we take money from there. That is what that account is for. And I think it's so important that you do create that and have that be a priority of yours. It may be hard. Maybe you can only put like $20 a month right now, but whatever you can do to start putting money away for that is going to make such a difference in your heart, in the things that you do, because you're creating a life based off of giving instead of taking, right? And that's what is going to get you so much further in life than if you're focused on me, 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 me. You're like, okay, I don't need all of this. Maybe I want it, but I don't need it. How can I go and find a need in the world that I can put this money towards and actually make a difference in somebody else's life? That is going to make you feel so much better than if you are just focused on you, right? The short-term happiness based off of instant gratification is not something that's going to last. What's going to last is giving away that money and seeing how it affects somebody, seeing the difference that you can make in somebody else's life. Okay, so the next thing that we have is our bills savings account, which the categories in that are yearly expenses. So those are taxes, propane, vehicle registration. We get beef yearly, subscriptions. I also put health in there and PTO days for when my husband takes a day off, or it also can be used for when he has to stay overnight in the truck, right? We have some money saved up in case he has to go out and eat for those nights. It can be a headache sometimes. So that's just like a lump sum of money I put there for his work per se. The next thing is our bills checking account. And those are our monthly expenses, utilities, mortgage, IRA, subscriptions, insurance. There's lots of categories in that particular account, but it's simply just monthly expenses. From there, we have our sinking funds. We have maintenance and repairs for both the house and the car. We have Christmas, we have garden, we have homeschooling, we have hunting and fishing, because that's what my husband likes to do. We have home land updates and remodels because we live on a house that there's lots of updates that need to be done. My dad, because my mom was sick, wasn't able to take care of the land and the home very well. And that's nothing against him, but it needs updated. So we have a lot of updates that are being taken care of, and not simply updates for cosmetics, but for the actual structure of the house and the property. Lots of things that just need to be taken care of to make it a happy home, right? Then we also have clothes and bulk buying for groceries. And, whatever other sinking funds maybe you can think of that you would enjoy. Maybe you need a kids account in there for sports and activities that they do. Maybe you need a account or a category for, like I said, the beauty account, because that's something that maybe you enjoy having, is the makeup and the hair and all that kind of stuff. But then from there, we have our sinking funds checking account. And this I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, but it's simply it's a checking account attached to the savings account so that money doesn't get spent in our spending accounts, whatever account we would maybe transfer it to. It's just an account that we put that money into and we spend from there. Now, you may ask why I do a savings account and a checking account and not just put it all in a checking account. And if you have enough money, maybe you could do like a high interest checking account and take away having two accounts right there. But personally, we don't always have enough income in that savings account to qualify and not have to pay for a high interest savings or checking account. So we put our money into a savings account and use that checking account because the checking account does not accrue interest since it's a free checking account. And so we just hold a little bit of money in that checking account for easy access because in savings accounts, you can only transfer so many times a month out of that checking. And so we put a lump sum into the checking account and hold the rest in the savings account so that it continues to accrue interest. That is the goal for all of my savings accounts, is for them to accrue interest. Now, you may ask why I have a bills savings account and a sinking fund savings account. And it's so that in my brain, if I were to say, oh, we've got the money, let's go buy this thing, which isn't a normal category, my bills are not being affected. My yearly expenses that I have to have in order to live are not being affected. And so that is where that comes from. That's why we have a bills savings that gets attached to the bills checking. That's how I pay for the bills expenses, is out of the bills checking. And then we have our sinking fund savings, which is separate, so that, again, if I get a little lax and I don't feel like keeping track of my expenses, or if I'm like going, oh, but I need this, but I don't need this, I don't have to worry about my needs not being met. It may just be a little bit of a struggle or less income for some of our other categories, which is okay. And maybe we'll be able to save up for it in the future, but right now we took it for this specific purchase, and that's okay. I can do that however I need to change things up, right? Like, that is what a budget is for. Like, it's to give you a guideline, but if things need to change because you found another need that came up, for instance, I had to rebuild my garden fence this year because the way I had it built last year and the year before, the rabbits just were coming through and eating all of my spring crop. And I'm like, this is not okay. So we built and fortified the garden fence this year so that I don't have to worry about it. And so that did cost a little bit more, and it did probably end up taking some money out of some of those other categories, but that's okay because they are things that are needed further down the line, and we will get that taken care of. Also, building the chicken coop wasn't in those categories. So we had to take money from a category and put it in there and use it, right? It was a need because we have chickens and the coop is not finished. But we did try to find ways to make it more cost effective by using what we had around the house, right? So that is what we did, but that's what that's for. That's why I have the sinking fund savings and the sinking fund checkings separate, and they're not together with everything else because my brain didn't want to keep track of everything and wanted the freedom that if something came up and I needed to rotate things around, I could without having to worry about affecting the things that I need, my bills, for the year in order to live, right? Okay, so then from there we have our family savings account, which is vacations. It's saving up for toys, which what I consider toys are like four-wheelers, cars, go-karts, whatever kind of fun thing that you like to purchase. That's where you would save up for that. Maybe it's tools that you want to buy that you don't necessarily need, but you like to buy them and would like your own instead of borrowing all the time. Family activities that cost a little bit more that you need to save up for, maybe like a concert or going on a small mini vacation instead of a big vacation, right? Maybe it's going camping. That would be where you'd save up for that. And again, I have that separate from my sinking fund checkings and my bills checkings so that I don't spend the things that money is supposed to be allocated towards, right? It's specifically towards vacations and toys, and it's kind of the last category that gets money added to. And it's like, if we have it, it's a nice to have that we put down in there. It's kind of like a slush fund. It's like the last of the last to make sure all of our needs are met first, and then we throw it in there for whatever's left over. So then from there, we have our savings accounts for both the girls. And from there, we have our emergency fund, which the emergency money, I have access to like a small portion of it for instant access in a savings account, a normal savings account. However, like I've already mentioned, I like my money to make money for me, even if it's just sitting in a savings account. So I have like 2,000 of that emergency fund in instant easy access, and the rest of it I have in a CD, and I can't think of the name of the CD. It's not a normal CD. It's a CD that the interest is a little bit lower because it's not a normal CD, but it's one that should something happen, I can pull that money out without getting penalized. Like I can take it, I can say, okay, here's my certificate. I need to take that money out because I now have a need that I need to take care of. But like I said, I have a small amount in an emergency fund, a normal savings account, for that instant access should I need something right then and there and I don't have time, or it's a weekend and I can't go to the bank to get that money right away, right? So that is how I do that. I put more money if I can into that account. Now, maybe you can open a money market. Maybe you don't have access to a CD like that, because I have not found a CD like that in any other bank that I have been around. But you can look, you can search, maybe you can find a money market with a high interest use. Maybe you can find a savings or a high interest checking account, right? Just check whatever is going on, whatever they have. Now, know that the things that get locked into place, like an actual CD, are going to probably be more interest than the ones that you can have easy access to. But that is also your emergency fund. So should something happen, you want to be able to access it. So make sure that it's not locked in, and that if you do need to pull it out, there's no major penalization for pulling that income out. So maybe you do have access to another type of CD, or you find that if you do put it into a CD, you don't get super penalized for it. And even if you did get penalized for it, the amount of interest you have is enough to compensate for the penalization, right? There's lots of things going on. So just talk to your bankers, talk to maybe multiple different banks, figure out which is the best fit for you so that you can actually have your money make money for you. Okay, so those are the accounts that I use and the categories and how I put them together. And when I actually go and use the accounts, I know what account I need to use it for. Now, there have been a few purchases here or there that are new that I'm like, okay, well, where do I use? Like, where does this fit into my categories? How do I accommodate for this, right? And so I do have to do a little bit of thinking on those ones, and then I need to add it to my little sheet that I have that tells me what categories get pulled out of what account, right? And the purpose for those accounts, so that I know when I go to buy something, I know what account it comes out of. So that is like a lump sum quick explanation of how to create categories that you actually will stick to, that you get excited for because they're ones that you came up for. They're ones that actually fit your spending right now. Now, maybe you can change them in the future, and I'm sure things will happen and life will happen and you will end up changing them as life goes on. But right now, you look at what you're currently spending and you're able to create categories that you're excited for, categories that you're like, yes, I want to do that. I want to stick to my budget. I want to have these specific accounts with these boundaries in place so that I don't fall prey to spending that money because of the ease of use of it all being in one account. I want to separate it out. I want to know what these categories are. I want to know how to spend my money, and I can go and do it excitedly with so much confidence, knowing that it's not going to affect anything that is a need, right? And I can still do all these things that I'm super excited for and actually achieve it, actually stick to my budget, actually achieve my goals, actually make a difference in my finances on my journey that I'm looking towards to, right? Now, maybe it might take a little bit longer to be able to achieve those goals, but you know that you will be able to achieve them, right? With this system. So if you have any questions on how maybe you need to set yours up, or maybe these are too many accounts, but you'd like to figure out a way to cut down the accounts, but it's something you want to do and you want to be able to still have the boundaries in place, reach out to me. Let me know that this is something that you'd like to learn more about, and let's talk about it. Let's see what will work for you. All you have to do for that is grab a budget audit. That is simply by emailing me. Budget audit. So my email is mollybennell@gmail.com. So that's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL @gmail.com. If you didn't catch that, because I'm talking really fast right now, it's also in the show notes. But I just really want to make sure that if this is something you're looking for and this excites you, that maybe it's something you've never thought about with your budget, reach out to me and let's get this figured out for how it will work for you, what it is, what the things that you need to do are to set this up, right? So with that being said, I will see you right back here next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast. Before you go, I hope this episode has ignited a fire inside of you, and I pray that it creates long-lasting impact. Did you know that you too can impact other one-income families? All you have to do is leave a written review, and you help get the podcast in the hands of other mamas in need. You can also text this episode to that friend who is also knee-deep in the same kind of chaos as you and inspire them to make a change. Also, your review lets me know that you're enjoying the show, and that lights me up. I get so excited to hear from you. Another great way that we can connect, though, is through the One Income Family community over on Facebook. So after you're done leaving that 5-star review, head on over to the community where you will find other mamas working their way out of the chaos. You can ask your questions and connect with others who truly understand what you are going through. I cannot wait to connect with you in the community. Until then, I will see you right here next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast.